Hey, so today I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a quick way to get a high level overview of every single deal that you currently have going on inside of your business. Now, do we use a CRM? Of course we do. But this is just one Google Sheet that makes it really simple to track everything that you have going on, especially if you're doing flips and wholesales. It's just a very good way to be able to manage everything that you have going on. So, let me minimize this screen a little bit here and just show you everything that we do. So the first column on here is on hold. So let's say you have address number one on here, and there's a few different reasons why a property could be on hold. Basically, what that means is you have an accepted offer, but for some reason you cannot close on the property just yet. That could be because it has title issues, that could be because the seller has gone ghost on you, that could be for any reason really that is preventing the transaction from closing. So we keep these on hold. Sometimes they're on hold for a couple of weeks, sometimes they're on hold for a couple of months. Um, I don't think we've had anything on hold for a couple of years, but I can see that potentially happening. So here we just kind of have our on holds, and let me explain what all these little columns mean as well, so you can get a better understanding. So starting off with our DD date. DD date, that stands for due diligence date. If you're not sure what a due diligence period is, that is the final day that you have to back out of purchasing that property without losing your deposit. So today I'm recording this on September 15th. Mom, if you're watching this, happy birthday. But let's say I have until September 21st of this year to back out of a contract. If today's date has not passed yet, look at what's going to happen once I hit enter. The color will turn green. So I can just look at this really quick and see, okay, I'm still good to go on this one. But every single morning, something I like to do is I hop on this really quick and I like to look for any yellows. Now, why do I say any yellows and what do I mean by that? Let me type in today's date. If something is today, dated for today, it is going to turn yellow. And so whenever I see something yellow, I want to look and say, okay, so for example, in this case, due diligence date, we have address number two in this case. Address number two, due diligence date, meaning today is my last day to be able to cancel this property and not lose my deposit. So let's say I have a $5,000 deposit sitting in escrow. I have to decide, okay, do I want to move forward with this? What do I want to do? Because if I decide to cancel after today, I can basically kiss those $5,000 goodbye. So it's very, like I said at the very beginning of the video, this is a very quick way to get like a high level, big picture of what's going on. And if you couldn't have already guessed, if you put a day in the past, it's going to be red. So it's really, really simple for us to just kind of hop on here real quick and see if there's anything urgent that we need to take care of. EMD in. So we want to know, have we already put this deposit in or not? If we have, we just put the letter Y. If we haven't, we put the letter N, and that's pretty much all we do there. Close of escrow day is just when do we have to close on this property. So pretty simple. That's what we do here. I'm pretty sure the one that we use also has this turn different colors. I just created a copy of the one that we use. I'm not too sure why this one didn't automatically turn a different color, but that's beside the point. So yeah, close of escrow date, pretty simple. We can just kind of look on here real quick and see, okay, this is when we're supposed to be closing escrow. EMD amount, this is just how much money we have to put in as a deposit. LLC. So I have a handful of different LLCs depending on if I'm wholesaling, flipping, keeping as a rental, whatever. And so I just kind of like to put on here which LLC and I abbreviate them. So let's say your name is John Smith. We will have a legend up here. um, so if I were to type in the letters JS, whoops, if I type in the letters JS, and I just look at the legend really quick, I see, okay, JS means we're buying this property under John Smith LLC. But let's say, somebody's name was John Joseph Smith. Wow, can I get any more generic with the names that I'm making here? Um, Equals JJS. So I would look here and say JJS. Okay, perfect. And so if somebody on my team were to take a look at this really quick, they all know which LLC we buy properties under depending on what we're doing. So if somebody on my team was curious, hey, what's Ray doing with this property? Is Ray going to keep it? Is Ray going to flip it? Is Ray going to wholesale it? Sure, they can ask me, but it's probably a lot faster if they just kind of hop on here really quick and take a look at what LLC it's under, and they would find their answer pretty quickly. Title company, same exact thing, right? So right here we put all the title companies that we use, we abbreviate them. If we're buying it or if we're assigning it, we'll just put the name of the buyer on here. EMD due date. So let's say earnest money is due today. All right, looks like this color coordination thingy majigger here worked. Again, I can just hop on here really quick and just take a look and see if any colors, come to mind. If I see any colors really quick, like yellow, that means I will take a look at that right then and there. Our price, this is mainly if we're wholesaling a property. So if we have a property under contract at 240,000, for instance, um, and then I see here, we assigned it for 265,000, which right now that is our average assignment fee, 25K. We will just fill out all this information. So I see, okay, we have it locked up at 240. We've assigned it for 265. We should be making $25,000. My admin or my TC, they go ahead and they put the escrow number in here. They go ahead and put what day the contract was fully executed, meaning what day us as the buyer and the seller went ahead and officially signed the contract to purchase the home. Then we put our TC here. So who are we using to coordinate this transaction? And then if there's ever any like miscellaneous notes in here or something, we can kind of just take care of those as well. So really, really simple. Um, the on hold and the wholesale escrow are pretty much the exact same here. So I'm going to go ahead and skip over the entire wholesale escrow column because it's pretty much the exact same thing as the on hold. So like these are the exact same thing. But let's take a look at purchase escrow. Purchase escrow is if we are buying a property and everything is looking good to go, right? So on hold is if there's some sort of delay, something preventing us from being able to close on the property. Purchase escrow is things are looking good. We are getting ready to close this in the next couple of days to the next couple of weeks. And we plan on buying this, flipping it, keeping it as a rental, whatever. So here we'll put, the address, and I'll show you how this is a little bit different than the wholesales. Due diligence date, that's the exact same as the example we gave here. Is earnest money in or not? That's the exact same as the example we gave above. Close of escrow date, nothing changes. EMD, nothing changes. LLC, nothing changes. Title, nothing changes. Here we get a little bit different, but nothing too crazy. So if you don't know too much about like the fix and flip world, 99.99% of house flippers, they are borrowing money from other people or from like a hard money lender or something like that to go buy these homes, myself included, right? So, in the last year or so, I've spent around $10 million to buy houses. I don't have $10 million to my name, so I go out there, I meet people who have a good amount of money, and I use their money to buy these homes. I give them a bunch of paperwork that protects their money. I show them how their money is protected, and I guarantee them that they're going to make their money back and some money on top of their money as their interest. And so people have let me borrow over $10 million just in the last 12 months to buy these houses. And so right here we will go ahead and put the name of the person. Let's say their name is Sally, right? So if Sally's letting me borrow $250,000, I just put on here, hey, we're using Sally as a lender, or we are partnering with Sally. And by the way, if you want to be one of our Sallys, if you have at least $100,000, typically we look for a minimum of $250,000 to if you want to invest in my company and do some deals with us. But if you have at least $100,000, I'm sure there's something that we can figure out. And honestly, just shoot me a DM anyway. Like, if you're watching this video, you have any questions, whether it's about investing in one of our deals or whether it's about, anything else, just DM me on Instagram and let's get connected regardless. I don't care if you're a millionaire or if you're broke, we're all human at the end of the day. So shoot me a DM. But right here, we'll go ahead and we'll put who is letting us borrow the money to buy this property. Again, EMD due date, that doesn't change. Purchased at, technically we haven't purchased it yet because it's still in escrow, but I don't think purchase price fit in here, so I think that's why we just named it purchase at. But let's say we're buying the property for 240,000. Budget, that means how much money do we are we trying to keep the construction to? So let's say we're trying to keep it under 35 grand, and then we have an ARV and after repair value of 350. We are going to check after we sell this property to see how accurate were we on our numbers. Um, did we stay on budget? Did we go over budget? Did we sell it for 350? Did it sell for less? Did it sell for more? Very rarely do we have one that sells for less than our ARV. I want to say once or twice it's happened. Once for sure, maybe a second time, but once for sure. I think we sold one like 15 grand under what I really thought it would sell for. Whoops. Um, but we were still okay. I think we lost like $300, but if you're investing $250,000, a $300 loss, that's not a big deal. So, all right, escrow number, that doesn't change. Fully executed, that doesn't change. TC, that doesn't change. Now, let's take a look at the on deck because we do have a couple different fields here. So, what's going on here? What does on deck mean? On deck means that we've already purchased the property. So let's say, I'm going to delete this here, but let's say this one right here, I'm just going to use address number 1 as an example. So after we've purchased it, so let's say the close of escrow day was 9-14. Um, as I mentioned earlier, today's now the 15th. So if we closed on it yesterday, that property would be moved down to on deck. Now, on deck means that we already own it, but we haven't started any construction on it yet. Why on earth would we own a property and just let it sit there without starting construction? An example of that could be if we gave the seller a lease back. A lease back is once you buy a home, instead of telling the seller, hey, you have to get the heck out of my property the day that I buy it, we actually tell them, hey, if you need a little bit more time to move out, that's perfectly okay. And so we will agree on a day that they have to move out to. So let's say we give them 2 extra weeks from today. So we'll put here, we are giving them until the end of the month to move out. And that could be an example as to why a property is on deck. Another example of why a property could be on deck is if there's squatters in there, right? There's a lot of states that they have what they call squatters' rights. So you're gonna have to kind of deal with all of that, and so you'll put in here the status of the eviction. Um, those could all be reasons why a property is on deck. Something else that we'll put on here is who's the contractor that we plan on using. Very self-explanatory. Just put their name in here. The construction manager. So I have my dad on my team. He is in charge of managing the construction for all the houses that the company buys. So believe it or not, normally I log on here and I see that my team just writes dad on here because they know I look at this sheet all the time. So they just refer to him as like my dad. I mean, that is what he is. But anyway, something else that we have on here, budget, just like we had in the purchase escrow one, projected. That is how much money we are projected to make on this property. First close. First close is when we buy the home. And then second close would be when we sell the home. So right here, we'll just go ahead and we put the day that we purchased the property. Again, the TC, who's managing all the paperwork, this and that. Pretty simple. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our rehab. And I don't know if I'm going crazy, but did I wonder if I deleted something when I created a copy of this one? Let me see. There's normally okay. JK, no wonder this one's blank. Here we go. Okay, continuing. So rehabs, once we are ready to start construction on it, let's say we had given the seller a lease back, or we evicted the squatters, whatever the case may be. We want to get utilities switched over into our name. So we're going to turn on, the power, the water, all that stuff, right? So my admin, she'll just mark in here yes once she's turned it on, or it'll be no if she hasn't done that yet. So that's something that is very, very crucial, because my construction team cannot really start working on a property, if it doesn't have any utilities. So I know my dad is checking this sheet, I'm checking this sheet, and so it's very good. It's very good for all of us just to kind of see, okay, are utilities turned on? Yes, they are. Cool. ARV, we'll still put our ARV in here. Finish date. This is the date that we are hoping to be done with construction by. So we just bought a little condo on the 7th, I believe it was, and the finish date we're hoping to be done by this one. Done with I can't talk. Done with this one by the 30th. So for example, if it's not the 30th yet, we'll see that it's going to be green. But let's say I see that this suddenly turns red. I'm going to call my dad and be like, hey, dad, I love you, man, but how come, your department is running behind schedule? And so again, having this color coordinated stuff, and if you guys want, I will give this sheet to you guys. Um, we don't sell anything around here, so it'll be free. And I will make sure that all the color stuff is working properly so that it'll be even easier on you guys. But this is a very simple way for me to kind of keep track of our construction department and say, hey, why, this was supposed to be done 2 weeks ago. Why isn't this house done yet? Um, does that really happen with us? No, my dad's a beast, but it's just an example. Um, Insurance. So you don't ever want to buy a property and not get insurance on it. So we just kind of make sure, hey, we get insurance right away. Typically we get it set up right before we buy the house as well. But we mark it yes or no if there's insurance or if there's not insurance, which 99.99% of the time, I mean, as soon as we buy a house, the insurance is already kicked on. LLC, we already talked about. Title, we talked about. Lender, we talked about. Lockbox code. So in this phase of the project, we already are starting to do construction. So there's a lockbox on the property so that the contractors can go, they can open the lockbox at the start of the day, they can lock it up by the end of it. And most of our lock boxes have the same code, but I guess for some reason some have a different code or whatnot. So we just keep track of the lockbox code. Contractors, we talked about that. Manager, we talked about that. Budget, we talked about that. Projected, we talked about that. First close, we talked about it. This should say TC, but there we go. Cool. Now, what happens once you're done I can't talk again, renovating a property? Well, once you're done, you're going to go ahead and put it on the market with a realtor. Um, Once it's on the market, it's going to go down here. And so again, utilities should be on, all of this stuff, should be, all of this stuff is the exact same as what we already talked about. But right here, we already have a rough budget, excuse me, a rough number of how much was spent. It's not a final number yet, and I'll tell you guys why it's not a final number in just a second. But let's say, our budget was 35 grand, and my dad absolutely destroyed it, and he got it done for $33,000. That's an A plus in my book. LA, I skipped over this one. This stands for listing agent. So we have a couple different realtors who we use, and so it's just a very quick way. For instance, if I see here the list date, if I see that we listed this one on August 1st, and it's still sitting on market, I'm probably going to call up that realtor and be like, "Hey, bro, what's the feedback that we've been getting from buyers agents? How come it's been 6 weeks and this property is still sitting on the market? We thought we were going to get a buyer for this property into escrow in 2 to 3 weeks. So we're 2 to 3 times the timeline that we had projected on this. What's going on?" So this is just a very quick way for us to kind of see like what's going on here. Um, Let me see if there's anything else that I missed on here. No, we talked about utilities, list price. Yeah. Um, this one's self-explanatory, but list price, insurance, insurance to just stay yes all the way until closing. LLC, we talked about that. ARV, we talked about it. Lender. Okay, so with list price and ARV, this is just to see how accurate we were on what we thought the ARV was going to be. Lockbox code, contractor, okay, all pretty self-explanatory. Now, once we actually have a buyer and we've accepted an offer, it's no longer on the market. Somebody made an offer that we accepted. So now it goes to escrow for us to sell this home and finally get paid. So here we're going to put when is the close of escrow date set for. So let's say we're set to close at the end of the month. Contracted, this means what price are we under contract for? So our ARV was 350. Let's say we got lucky and we got a $360,000 offer. Someone just really loved the home and that's what they offered. Fully executed date, that's the day that us as the sellers and somebody else as the buyer, we fully signed a contract. Insurance, that's self-explanatory. LLC, title, lender, lockbox code. We've talked about all of those things already. Concessions. So a concession is when the seller gives the buyer some sort of a credit. That could be a credit towards their closing costs. It could be a credit towards them getting a lower interest rate. It could be a credit towards a repair in the property. Whatever the case may be, um, I think we just gave someone an $8,000 credit, and they didn't have to pay any closing costs, but they were they paid us. We wanted 325 for the property, and they paid us 340. So really, we got paid like 332 after the $8,000 concession, which is still 7 grand more than what I thought it was going to sell for. Um, so I was super happy. Buyer's due diligence, this is just what day does the buyer have to back out during their due diligence period. Now, 99% of the time, the buyer has some other contingencies like a loan contingency, an appraisal contingency, like all these other contingencies as well. But, this one kind of helps us keep track of that. And we actually keep track of these other ones, of these other contingencies in a different sheet. But now that I think about it, the whole point of this sheet is just to kind of get like a quick high level overview of everything. So the more I think about it, I think we're going to go ahead and add these other contingencies to this sheet as well. So I'll probably put a loan. You guys are seeing me like self educate, like real time. So loan um, contingency. Um, Yeah, I'll make it look pretty later, but we'll add loan contingency in here. We'll add appraisal contingency, and then there's probably another one or two that we should add in there as well. Um, I learn something new every day, right? Or I'll realize something new every single day. And in fact, not to go too much off topic here, but one of my company's core values is 1% better every single day. So every morning we have a morning meeting. And as part of our morning meeting, everyone has to say one thing that they got better at the day before as it pertains to their job, and one thing that they plan on getting better at today as it pertains to their job as well. And it's not really difficult for someone to come up with something because we do a training every single day. So I mean, if we do a training and you can't come up with anything, then like, you're probably on the same IQ level as like Patrick Starr. So, just a little side note, I guess. Um, Sale escrow. Oh, silly me. We just talked about that. Maybe I'm on the same level as Patrick. Who knows? Okay. Recent closing. So that's pretty self-explanatory. So once this property has closed, we move it down here. Marketing. So we want to know, did this come from an agent or did this come from a seller? So direct to agent versus direct to seller. And you can break it down into more specifics than that. And we do in the lead source category, but I'll talk about that in a second. So contracted will be the price that we originally agreed on. So let's say we agreed on $360,000, but for some reason, let's say we ended up closing at $358,000 because I don't know. I'm trying to think of like something silly, but for whatever reason, I guess, let's say there was for some reason we gave them like a $2,000 like price reduction. Um, I don't know, right? Like things happen all the time. So we just track that. Insurance here, we wanted to actually say no because why do I want to pay for an insurance on a property that I no longer own? LLC, self-explanatory. We talked about that earlier. The title company, buyer slash lender, buyer if we wholesaled it, lender if we flipped it, profit. So this is my favorite one. I mean, it's my favorite one when it's green, but it's my least favorite one the few times it's been red. Contracted, close of escrow. Um, that's just what day did the contract say we would close on. Concessions, did we give that buyer any sort of concessions? Commissions paid. So I pay my team a salary plus commissions, and they get paid every 2 weeks, just like most normal jobs. So if let's say we have a few on here with the letter N, that means okay, this upcoming pay period, I know I have to pay my team commissions on 1, 2, 3 properties, and then once they get paid on those just all get switched to Ys. Um, Exit, that means exit strategy. So an exit strategy can be a wholesale, it can be a flip, it can be a rental, it can be a listing. We don't do novations, but it can be a novation, it can be whatever. Um, Lead source. So was this a PPL? Was this a PPC? Was this a relationship that we had with someone? Was this, did we get this from running an ad on YouTube? If you're not too familiar, PPL stands for pay per lead. It's a company that you pay and they will sell you leads. Pay per click is you run ads on Google and you pay every time somebody clicks on your ad. But the goal of those ads is for people to fill out their information and you call them, they sell you their house. So we just kind of track all of that. And then here, we track how much money was actually spent on the construction and what was our budget. So let's say, for example, here, and you know what? I think I might have glossed over this earlier, but I'll just talk about it now. So when a property is on market, that means we finished the rehab, we put it on market, and we spent $33,000. But let's say during the buyer's inspection, they found something they wanted us to repair, and so we agreed to repair that for them. That might cost us an extra $1,000. So in total, we spent 34 grand. By the time we had put the property on market, it had only been 33. But after their inspection, they wanted, they're always going to want something stupid. Like someone just asked us to like repair the fascia, which for the life of me I couldn't see what was wrong with it. Or they wanted us to like switch out a dome light, silly little things. But most of the time we'll do them anyway, just to get rid of these houses and get paid. I mean, as long as it makes some sort of sense, I guess. So here we'll just put what did we spend in total on the construction. So 34,000, and what was our budget? So 34 and 35. And so I look at this, I'm like, all right, cool, we stayed under budget, we were very profitable, we took home $35,000. And boom, that's it. And then leaseback status, I mean, we normally don't use this one too much because we're keeping track of them up here, but recently canceled. We try to never cancel properties, but sometimes, like, things happen. You were wrong on your numbers, or the repairs were more than expected, or whatever the case may be, and so we'll have to cancel a property. So we just kind of keep track of that on here as well. And that's it. If you want this sheet, just send me a DM on Instagram and I'll shoot it on over to you. Peace.